Hello, everybody. Um, it is Monday night, and you know what that means? It is time for SNL, Sunday Night League. We are here at Barcelona uh, for our Formula X race, round 2 of season 6, and it is a very exciting round. We are set up for an exceptional race, a very good race, dare I say. And today on pole position, we have Bunnies 9999. Bunnies with a 121.683 in our one-shot qualifying. So the Red Bull driver putting it on pole a whole 8/10 ahead of Cthulhu, who set a 122.484. I won't go through the exact times from here on out, but 1.6 seconds back from Bunnies is Bailey, followed by Aloe, who was 2.3 seconds back from Bunnies. And then we have Intulu, who was only a 10th off of Aloe. Intulu, you'll notice he's in the Brabham this week. Last week he was in the Renault. He was a reserve last week, but he has stepped up to full time. For us, he will be Matt's teammate throughout the season, although Matt not showing up today, unfortunately. Alexis qualifying in 6th with a 124.883, followed by the Punisher, our Williams driver, new to the league, didn't race in Brazil, unfortunately. Second Canadian on the grid. It'll be very interesting to see what he can do this season. Followed by Jam in 8th. SNL Jam, a 125.535 in qualifying. We'll see the first of the two Benetton drivers on the grid today. We'll see how he does. The second of those two, though, is Speckmayer. He is 9th for the grid today. You can see here that Benetton livery. I did make a mistake last week. I said that his helmet looked a lot like a Michael Schumacher helmet. As it turns out, it is actually a Jean Alesi helmet. So a little bit of info for you there, followed by a new driver today, as a reserve, Harmond Killebrew. So Harmond, new to the league in the Renault, qualifying 10th on debut. That's a pretty solid job for the newcomer. We'll see how he does in future races. The new reserve, racing with the number 77. It's then on the grid Slenderfella in the Ferrari, the first of the two Ferraris, so not an excellent round in terms of qualifying for the Ferraris. He will be starting 11th today, followed by Digital Blasphemy in 12th. Digital, the second of the Williams drivers on the grid, followed by the two Lotuses. You can see here Rob on drums qualifying 13th and Jim Joker 14th. So the Camel Lotuses, maybe not quite the qualifying they would have wanted, but we'll see what they can do in the race. And last but not least, it is Gasman rounding out the grid. Gasman, who, based on the time he set, a 134.037, I would imagine spun on his qualifying lap. So back up to the front of the grid, let's see how this race goes. We have Bunnies 9999 on pole, Bunnies in the Red Bull, followed by Cthulhu alongside him, and I'll just get the correct information up quickly. I hadn't thought to do that beforehand, unfortunately. So we'll say display all, and driver names off. Excellent. Let's get right into it. Why don't we? I'm just going to double check that my voice can, in fact, be heard on the stream. Yep, it can be. That is good news. And I'm just going to make sure that the stream is being shared to the SNL chats. And give me 2 seconds. Apologies. It is. Excellent. Good to know. And apologies for my being distracted. I have actually just been signed to a team in another league that I race in. So apologies for my slight distraction there. I'm going to be racing for McLaren in a league I race in on Saturdays. So that's cool. That is not what is important right now, though. What is important is the race at hand. We have 15 drivers on the grid. Matt Psycho missing. This will hurt his championship, but Cthulhu will be really looking to capitalize on that, and I'm sure Bunnies will as well. Bunnies not an optimal round in Brazil, but based on last season, he can always pull himself back. Let's see how this race goes. 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4, 5. It's lights out, and we are racing in Spain, sorry. Bunnies, good jump off the line. The first phase was very good. We'll see how the second phase is. A lot of opportunities for slipstream down to turn 1. A little bit of overtake from Bunnies. Cthulhu going down the inside. Can he make the move? Bunnies cuts across him. A little bit of a choppy move there. We'll see. No contact, it looked like, though. Everybody making it through cleanly, it seems. Jim Joker falling slightly further back. From the back of Bunny's car, we can see Cthulhu, Bailey, and Intulu going at it here. Intulu going down the inside of turn 4. A good move from the Portuguese driver. He'll be looking to challenge Cthulhu now. Intulu had a very good round last round as a reserve for the Renault team. We'll see, now that he's full-time at Brabham, can he make a move on the Renault ahead of him? Bailey in 4th. Alexis, ooh, a little bit of contact. Bailey sent wide, but Aloe capitalizing on that. Both McLarens on 3 sets of softs this race. Ooh, was a bit of contact since Bailey even further wide. Can he hold it through the gravel? He does. Good on him for not spinning. That is a tough job when you're in a situation like that. But he's managed to keep it going. Jim Joker, unfortunately, falling pretty far behind. I wonder if he's had a bit of an accident here on the opening lap. You'll see here, we're not using the final chicane. It's the 2 right-handers just about flat out in these cars if you can get the right line. So Bunnies leading by a good distance, about 2.5 seconds already across the line on lap 1. It is the dream start for Bunnies. So Cthulhu in 2nd, he's used a lot more overtake than Bunnies. Bunnies always very conservative on his overtake at the start of the race. Intulu will be looking to push towards Cthulhu. Cthulhu on the mediums, that's important to note, as Intulu and Bunnies both on the softs, as is Aloe, Alexis on the mediums. Alexis and Cthulhu both using a medium hard compound tires for this round, although Bunnies, Alexis's teammate, was soft medium hard. So we'll see how that plays out for the tires. Bunnies, certainly the dream start for him. You can see Cthulhu in the background now, but it's only lap 2. It's brilliant for the Canadian that is a background bit there, seeing him in the background. So, a little bit of chaos further back. Let's see Bailey here on the inside of Spec Mirror into turn 9. That's a crafty move. He can't quite pull it off. Rob on drums is going to challenge down the inside towards turn 10. Can the Lotus driver make a move? It looks like Bailey has braked just early enough. That's a little bit wide from Digi there. Digital Blasphemy struggling at that corner. The Punisher and Jim Joker both falling a little ways behind, but not too far back. They're not out of contention by any means. Here comes Alexis on the back of Aloe. He goes to the inside. He's passed well before the braking zone. Aloe will have to concede that position, but he might look to... Ooh, he looks down the inside, thinks better of it. Can't brake anywhere near late enough to make that move. It's a 22.192 at the moment for fastest lap from Bunnies. We'll see how does Cthulhu's lap compare to that. A 23.2 compared to a 22.1, so he lost 1.1 seconds on lap 2. You can see Bunnies there is pulling away a lot. We can see Intulu a little bit closer to Cthulhu than Cthulhu is to Bunnies, but a solid gap there as well. I'd say Cthulhu, it should be pretty comfortable in no man's land at the moment. Alexis, now past Aloe, he'll be looking to see if he can overtake Intulu. Alexis had some excellent pace last week at Brazil. Some strategy calls maybe had a little bit of troubles for him, but he did a very good job last week. Ooh, as the Renault driver there just about keeping it out of the wall. Armand, a little bit difficult to remember that username, being a newcomer with a very different nickname, but Armand Killebro, I believe it is. Armand in 7th, doing quite well for his first race so far. Mind you, it is only lap 3, so we'll see how that goes for him throughout the rest of the race. Words are not working for me. Slenderfella here in 8th, doing pretty good. His teammate Gasman is chasing him down though, so we'll see What can Gasman do? It's a 25.6 for both drivers, so they're very even on that last lap, the two Ferraris. 1990 livery on this car, and it is a beautiful grid this season, but it must be said that Ferrari is among the better liveries. I say that actually, I don't think there's a single livery I wouldn't put on that list of the best liveries, so maybe I won't make that comment, because all of the liveries this season are so good. Ooh, as in Tulu, just about saving the oversteer there. He's already used up a quarter of his overtake though, so an interesting strategy decision there. You can see Bunny's barely using any overtake. That shouldn't be a surprise if you've been watching the past couple seasons. Last round and the entirety of last season, really, he did not tend to use overtake particularly early on in the race. Cthulhu has a bit over a quarter left. Alexis is pushing pretty hard on his overtake, but he's still got a bit over a quarter. Aloe has most of his overtake left. Jam has the majority of it, and that's about a quarter gone for Armand as well. Gasman making the move on Slenderfella. I'm actually just going to jump back here and see what's happened, because Gasman comes from a long way back here. What exactly does he do? It looks like Slenderfella misses the apex a little bit, and some incredible traction from Gasman there. He is through right there. That is an impressive move from the Ferrari driver. Slenderfella is going to have to settle for ninth for the time being, but he'll want to stick to the back of Gasman. Gasman has showed some amazing pace over the past couple seasons. Bailey's being quite aggressive on his overtakes so far. You can see that neon green camera on his car. That is to differentiate him from Aloe's car, which of course will have a black camera on the top of it. As Bailey down the inside of Slenderfella, that's a smooth move. And the McLaren driver is through into ninth. Slenderfella is going backwards here. Speckmare will want to be adding to that in just a moment. He is in 11th at the moment. It's not quite what the driver, what the Brit will want. Of course, Speckmare finishing third in the championship last season. And look at this gap. Bunny's taking turn 10 as Cthulhu exits turn 9. A 22.1 is the fastest lap of the race as it stands. That goes to Bunnies. That's a very good lap. Cthulhu, though, is not going slowly by any means, and considering he's on the mediums, he's got a good shot here. We'll see if we can see about the gap between Bunnies and Cthulhu at the end of this lap. Bunnies crossing the line with 6:55, and we'll see it is about 6 seconds between the top two drivers. Meanwhile, Intulu is only a couple seconds off of Cthulhu, so those two will definitely be battling soon. This top five really pulling away from the rest of the group, although Jam's sticking with them nicely. Harman following away a little bit from the group. Gasman in 8th, he's trying to keep up with Harman. This is a secondary sort of group here. Lots of action could be had right here. And then it's the two Williams. The Punisher has been catching up to Digital, and Jim Joker, unfortunately not quite the race he'd want so far. He's setting some alright lap times, though. He might be able to pull himself back into this. The Lotus driver, not the start he will have wanted, though. As we can see, some quite impressive consistency there from Bunnies, actually. Only 4 thousandths of a second between his previous two laps. A 122.160 and a 122.164 on his past two laps. Meanwhile, Cthulhu, in the 123s for all of his laps so far, barring the first lap, really wiggling around there in terms of where in the 123s he is, though mainly in the low 123s. Might have been a small mistake on the last lap. Flat out through the last corner. We'll see what he gets on this lap. It's 123.2, so pretty good lap times from Cthulhu, especially, as I said, considering he is on the mediums. He is doing very well right now. Further down the grid, yeah, it must be said, we really are breaking into a few different groups. We've got this trio here, Slenderfella, Speckmare, and Rob on drums. Got a little bit of a trio of more back markers, not necessarily back markers, but drivers who are struggling at the moment. Jim Joker, the Punisher, and Digital Blasphemy certainly being in that group, and then we've got a middle pack here of Harmond, Gasman, and Bailey. Though Bailey we've seen pushing pretty hard the last few laps. We'll see if he can catch up to Gasman and maybe overtake him. And then our front-running group, we really just got Jam falling away from that a little bit, Aloe as well, but then we sort of got a trio here of Cthulhu, Intulu, and Alexis. 3 different teams there, and then it must be said, Bunnies is really breaking away from that group. You can see on the mini-map, just when I switch from Cthulhu, the red arrow up in the top right corner, to the red arrow now, that is quite a significant gap between the two of them. It is looking good for Bunnies at the moment, but we are only 7 laps into this race, so we certainly do not know how it's going to turn out. Cthulhu in second, still pushing so hard, and I would wager that he's actually pulling away from Intulu at the moment. If he is, it's quite minor. No, he definitely is. He's gained about half a second on that last lap on Intulu. So those mediums, maybe they're coming into their prime now. Maybe the softs are dying out. Those softs do look pretty worn. Let's take a look at Intulu's softs compared to Bunny's softs. Let's take a moment to look at those softs. They get really worn through turn 3. That is a tire killer of a corner. Let's look up, more or less even between Bunnies and Intulu. That's a good sign for Bunnies. We've seen him last season be very harsh on his tires. Round 1 of Season 5 absolutely killed one of his front tires at Watkins Glen, and we could see him doing it a few other times throughout the season. Truthfully, we've seen it across all of the different leagues that we've run in SNL. He's killed his tires quite badly, quite a few times, so interesting one. You have to wonder if he's maybe saving tires at this stage, trying not to wear out the softs too much, or is he just gotten lucky with this round perhaps? It's hard to say. Further back, definitely some decent tire wear going on with all of the softs, but the mediums are keeping their lifespan pretty well, it has to be said. Through the last corner, Cthulhu really making use of that sausage curb on the outside, it must be said. Staying within track limits, of course, but interesting seeing him putting his left-hand tires on the outside of the sausage curb. If I remember, I'll take a look to see if Bunnies and Intulu and the rest of them are doing that on the next laps. Let's see with Speckmare. It's not admittedly the driver I meant to go to. He does use it a little bit. It looked like he just sort of clipped the sausage curb as he was making the turn in for that corner, trying to widen the entrance probably. And a new fastest lap of the race. First driver into the 121s, it's Bunnies with a 121.7. So Bunnies in the Red Bull still pushing so hard here and still pulling away from Cthulhu. Cthulhu at 123.4 on the previous lap. That's a solid, 1.7 second gap on the last lap? So that is, that alone is quite significant. As, yeah, we see Bunny still pushing. And, I've just remembered, I did want to look at, if he uses the sausage curb as well, at all. So let's see. Yeah, it looked like he did. Not a perfect camera angle to tell, but it looked like he did really make use of that sausage curb. Let's take a look at Cthulhu. He uses it. Intulu, he uses it. Alexis, he uses it. So they're all really running onto the sausage curb a little bit. Aloe didn't. We'll see Jam, he doesn't. So you can see that top 4, though, really... and maybe it's what makes the difference around that corner. I'm sure it doesn't make a huge difference around the entirety of a lap. But maybe that's what's putting that top 4 drivers ahead of the rest, is really the willingness and ability to extend the track like that, to a legal extent, of course. What they're doing is not illegal, but they certainly are extending the track a little bit more than those around them. So I wonder if that's maybe giving them a little bit of an edge there. Further back, I'll tell you what, this group here, they looked quite close on the mini-map. Gasman has gotten ahead of Harmon. So the Ferrari driver is ahead of the Renault now. Let's ride on board with the Renault, the new driver, and I tell you what, let's listen into the engine sounds as well for a couple minutes. Not a couple minutes, but a moment. So while we've been watching, it seems Armand has gotten decently close to Gasman, so I think we'll stick with these two for a minute more. Why don't we take that same view on board with Gasman? The beautiful scarlet red Ferrari taking the last corner. Sounded like, was that possibly engine braking through there? He's using a bit of overtake. I wonder if he thinks he's under pressure from Armand here. Armand using a bit of overtake as well. Further back, Bailey. Those softs are getting worn compared to the mediums and hards. So I didn't notice that. Gasman driving on the hards right now. To be at the front of this sort of midfield group on the hards, that is very impressive. If he gets onto some softer tires later, it will be very interesting to see what he can do. As I keep mentioning over the past couple of rounds, we have seen some exceptional pace from him last season, as well as a little bit this season. So I really do expect to see him charging up through the field towards the end of the race. Let's take a look up at the front. Cthulhu, his last lap, lap 10, a 1:22.680. That's his personal best. Only 6/10 slower than Bunny's, so Bunny's softs are looking pretty worn there. I would wager that, I'd say, I don't know why I keep saying wager. I would say that Intulu's front left at least seems a little bit more worn than Bunny's. We'll see how these drivers are actually managing turn 3, because if you're careful through there, you can avoid it killing your tires too much, but it's a bit tough. All of these drivers lifting a little bit. I didn't see Alexis lifting, but I wasn't really looking at his telemetry for long enough to judge that for sure. You can take turn 3 flat out, but it really does hurt your tires. So all of these drivers keeping their tires in mind, not trying to kill them off too much. We do have a 42 lap long race here. If you were to take the fuel tank, it goes round about 15 laps, probably a little bit more if we want to push it a bit, maybe 16 laps. So you can push the fuel tank decently far here, but if you were to pit now, say it does go 15 laps exactly, if you were to pit at the end of this lap, say put on a set of hards or a set of mediums, 2 15-lap stints right to the end. That could be a pretty nice strategy. We'll look further back. Alexis, Aloe, Intulu. Intulu actually does pit. So it's a well-timed comment from me, because Intulu does throw his Brabham into the pits. And that soft tire, that front left is looking absolutely ruined. As you can see, a man in a suit there, staring at the pit crew. That's a choice of attire for a car race. I approve personally, but it's a bit strange, I will admit. And I tell you what, Cthulhu is closing the gap to Bunny's in terms of pace. He isn't catching him yet. He's still losing time. But I tell you what, he's just set a 1:22.3. Well, Bunny's is only set a 1:22.1, and that is a Lotus in the background as Bunny's lapping Jim Joker there. So Jim Joker clearly having some problems, not the weekend he wants. His closest rival at the moment, the Punisher, is down the pit straight, and Jim Joker is only going through turn 11 now. Turn 11, turn 12 here. That is a rough time for him. Digital, on the other hand, is right behind in Tulu. So Digital has not used any overtake yet, it seems. Running a very high gear through turn 4. Wonder if he's saving fuel at all. Not using the revs at all. There we go. Using them a bit more this time. And let's see. This is Bailey on Harmon. So Bailey getting through in the McLaren. Let's go back and see that again. So Bailey is behind Harmon. Ooh, nearly runs it off the track. Gets on the sausage curve and can't really keep the momentum going. So Bailey capitalizing on a mistake there. One of the most important things you need to be able to do as a driver. Capitalizing on the mistakes of your rivals. Bailey going for another lap. And I tell you what, 3 sets of sauce for both McLaren drivers. I would say expect them to pit at the end of this lap. Because 42 divided by 3 is 14 if my maths are correct, although they are not often correct, so I could be completely wrong, admittedly. I am not a maths whiz by any means. So last lap, not as good for Cthulhu, but still only a 10th off of Bunnies. Alexis behind, though, gaining on both of them on that last lap, but on other laps not quite able to do that. So 2 Red Bulls in the top 3, but we'll see where Intulu comes out. Intulu is the man to watch if you ask me. Sorry about that. Commentator's curse taking effect instantly, apparently. That is unfortunate. That is unfortunate scenes to come into. But ignoring the fact that he's just run wide at turn 4, to be fair, it wasn't bad. That was actually quite a good recovery from a bit of an off moment. But Intulu, he's the man I want to watch, because I'd be very interested to know, undercut or overcut, what is more powerful? Let's look at the top of the grid. Aloe is into the pits, as expected. His pit crew really seeming to match his helmet, the green and purple. Let's see, Bailey is in as well, so is Harmon, and Harmon with a lot less fuel than the others, 6%, Aloe's already refueling, so can't really check with him. All of this top group sort of on more or less the same amount of fuel. Bunny's slightly below them, although that could be attributed to being slightly ahead of them. No, it seems like Cthulhu does just outright have a little bit more fuel than him. Actually, he has probably about a lap's worth more fuel in the tank than Bunny's, as Alexis lapping who I assume is Jim Joker there. He is. Jim Joker nearly going down the rallycross circuit. It's been a tough round for the Czech driver, but he's been doing a very good job of getting out of everyone's way, not causing any problems for the front runners, and really that is all we can really ask for, a good attitude, and, you know, if you're falling behind, not getting in the way too much. As that was a death scream from the tires of Bunnies there. You could hear the tires squealing through turn 3. Let's take a look. How does Alexis manage this corner? He does lift off slightly, but he doesn't even go down to half throttle. So Alexis, I would argue that he's probably pushing pretty hard, whereas Jam, for example, couple quick liftoffs. It's also very interesting to see the difference in drivers, how they lift off. Some drivers will fully lift off for a moment and then slam their foot back down, or their finger if they're driving on pad, or others will, on the contrary, just partially lift off. Some will do both, depending on the scenario. I think it's also worth pointing out the difference in, for example, traction control. So Bunnies, for example, drives with no traction control. I will admit I don't actually know for pretty much anyone else. I think Jam drives with like 1 traction control, possibly none. I say that, I honestly have no idea. Speaking of, Bunnies is into the pits, so Cthulhu inherits the lead, but I can't see him going much further on this fuel. His fuel gauge is in the red, so he will have to pit, presumably at the end of, the lap that he's just commencing now. So we'll see how that goes. Bunny's into the pits, he is refueling now, and yeah, so Gazman, we'll see, does he pit? He's pretty low on fuel, but he goes another lap. So it seems the fuel can go between 15 and 17 laps, depending on the driver. Bunny's only able to push it to 16 laps, but all of this current top 4, all of them going at least 17 laps, potentially even more. It'll be worth watching Cthulhu to see. Runs a little bit wide through turn 9. Bunnies out onto the mediums. So Bunnies has a soft, a medium, and a hard for this round. We'll see, does he pull out the hards at the end? For now, all we can say for certain is that he's using the mediums. As we look further up the grid, Cthulhu coming round the second last corner, the penultimate corner. He does dive into the pits. We'll see, does Alexis do the same? The Spaniard, will he follow his countryman? Nearly went into the gravel. Moved away too quickly, my apologies. Alexis does go into the pits. Jam will be next. We'll see. That looks like a couple people behind him. Not sure who. I'll just jump further back. It's Jim Joker and Harmon. So Jim Joker into the pits off of his hard tires. Oh, that's a couple people off. I wonder if there's contact there. It's a Lowy and Digital Blasphemy. What's happened here? Oh my goodness, that is chaos. Oh, wow. I would like to go back and see that again, because that is chaos in its purest form. So a Lowy tries to go around the outside. This is sort of our replay mode. He tries to go down to the inside. It looks like Digital tries to defend the inside. That's a bit of contact. He spins onto the ground and knocks a Lowy off the track. That is a very unfortunate accident, and Tulu will be happy seeing that, seeing a couple positions gained pretty easily for him. Digital, after the contact, going pretty slowly, staying in 4th gear. We'll see, does his teammate overtake him? Digital has a bit of damage. We'll see, can the Punisher get ahead? You can see the top 3 are all in the pits. Speckmere takes the lead now, as it looks, Bunnies takes 2nd, and Cthulhu's done refueling, as Digital's damage is fixed, so he's good to go again. Bunnies is in 2nd. We'll look back to see where's Cthulhu. There is Cthulhu. So Cthulhu going through turn 1. Bunnies about halfway through turn 3. Rob on drums, yet to pit, is in 4th. He's on the mediums, and in Tulu. So in Tulu's undercut has worked on Alexis. No, I believe he was ahead of Alexis already when he pit. So they're quite close together. So I wonder if actually the overcut has worked for Alexis. As, where's Speckmere? Speckmere is going through turn 8 now. 7 and 8 for Bunnies now. 3-9. We'll see how quickly will Bunnies catch up to Speckmere. This will be an overtake the Bunnies will want to do pretty quickly. I'm actually just going to stay on board with him, because with those worn tires, I would imagine Speckmere will be struggling quite a bit compared to Bunnies, who will probably be pushing as hard as he can on those fresh mediums. Speckmere does not hit on this particular occasion. Bunnies really using a lot of that sausage curb. And I tell you what, I said I was going to stick on board with Bunnies. I'm not going to do that, actually. I'm going to keep flipping through the grid. I'll come back to him in a minute, but he doesn't really seem like he's in a position to overtake Speckmere quite yet. Gasman on the back of Bailey. Both have pitted semi-recently, but Bailey has 3/4 of his fuel tank left. Gasman has almost his entire fuel tank left. But the big difference here is that Bailey on softs, Gasman on hards. And let's take a look back up at the front. As yes, Bunnies is a lot closer here to Speckmere. Going around the outside even. Not quite. He's going to have to make this a genuine overtake. As both of them go to the inside. Had a bit of a flashback to that Digital Blasphemy and Aloe incident for a moment. These two managing it cleanly though. So that is the Red Bull up into the lead. Speckmere probably will have held him up a tiny bit there, but it was nothing crazy, so I think that'll be alright. Cthulhu will be next up to try and overtake Speckmere. Speckmere, of course, on a very different strategy, probably fuel saving, probably tire saving. So the slower pace, we'll see if that pays off with strategy. But I think it can be excused, certainly, for the time being. As Digital and the Punisher, Digital's pulling away a fair bit. So Digital pulling back away from his teammate. He'll be chasing down Jam now. And then we'll see if he can catch up to Aloe again after their contact. But he is on the mediums, Aloe on the softs, and Aloe is right on the back of Alexis. That's mega impressive from the McLaren driver, setting his new personal best, and he's only about half a tenth off of the fastest lap of the race. Aloe is flying here. Why don't we actually ride on board with him for just maybe a sector or two, and I'll let you listen to the engine sounds as well. There's a big bunch of snaps of oversteer for Ntulu there. I did not... maybe I wasn't paying attention. I did not actually catch what happened to Alexis. I apologize for not commenting on that. I would have unmuted and mentioned that, but I was a little bit distracted, so I do apologize for that. Hopefully it was caught on stream, though, despite the lack of commentary. Sincerest apologies for that, but we'll see, can Aloe make up another position, this time on Ntulu? We'll see, going on to the pit straight, he's going to use a bit of overtake. Ntulu, does he feel the need to defend with any? He doesn't appear to. I think Aloe's too far back on this occasion, but he's not far off, and with Ntulu on the mediums, Aloe definitely has a solid shot at overtaking him. Alexis falling back to 6th. I think that happened within view, but I just missed it personally. So again, sincerest apologies for that, as Aloe is very close to Ntulu, finishing off the first sector. Is he going to go in for a move into turn 5, down the inside? Ntulu brakes later, he has the better line, but he misses the apex, he runs wide. Can Aloe get the better traction through turn 6, this little kink left, up to 7, he brakes. Later, he goes down the inside, and it's a smooth move up into 4th position for Aloe. This is a man on a mission in the McLaren. That's a nice bit of alliteration there as well. Speckmere in 3rd. He will be the next target for Aloe, but I tell you what, there's no way he can go another lap on that fuel. So I think Aloe has just put himself into a net podium position, and in a moment, it'll turn into an on-track podium position. We see Speckmere putting it into the pit lane. We're half an hour into this race, and still so much left to happen. We're about halfway through as well. Just towards the beginning of lap 22. So between this top two, similar lap times over the past few laps. It has to be said, Bunnies has a very slight advantage, but that is a genuinely very slight advantage. Aloe in 3rd now, and Ntulu already, look at the gap that Aloe has pulled. Aloe is on fire right now. Ntulu, nothing he can do to respond. He's over 10th and a half up on his personal best through Sector 1, but Aloe's still just flying away from him. So, as we see here, Alexis lapping the Punisher just sticking really far to the inside there, so that's decent from him to try and stay out of the way. As we can see further back, there's some blue flags for the Punisher. That'll be... I don't know if that's for the car behind or the car in front. I know he's being lapped, but regardless, Jam, yeah, it'll probably be because Jam will be overtaking him any time now. Let's take a look in the cockpit camera of the Benetton. There's some late braking there from Jam, overshoots the apex ever so slightly. The Punisher doing a good job to get out of the way of our very own SNL Jam. Jam, this is a difficult corner he's navigating. He's on the hards, and that is an understeery corner there, turn 12. So, turn 13, turn 14 now, and he's managing these corners nicely. It's important to note that he is on the hards, as I said, so that's not a tire that will be playing particularly nice with him on his way through all of these laps. We'll see, at least they will last a little while longer, but we'll see what the pace is for them. Further up the grid, is that Digital this time? Yeah, Digital being lapped by these guys up ahead. Right, that's how I do that. That might be useful. So yeah, Aloe here, we can see running wide, just about keeping it planted though. Using a bit of overtake to make up for the lost time. He goes down the inside on Digital. And that is not something Digital will be happy to see, given these two clashed on track just a few laps ago. That is not what Digital will be wanting to see. The Williams driver, a lap down on Aloe, who he made contact with just a few laps on the same lap as him. And looking further back though, let's see, where is Ntulu? Ntulu is in 4th. Let's see. He's falling away, so he's really in a no man's land here, but I tell you what, you want to talk no man's land, we got to be talking about Alexis here. He's just set a very good lap, 121.769. That is a brilliant lap from the Red Bull driver, almost matching, almost beating the fastest lap of his teammate, Bunnies, who is still out in the lead. Let's take a look at him and Cthulhu. You can see Cthulhu back there. Cthulhu, 122, a bunch of 122s, sort of in the 4s and the 1s. One mistake on lap 20, it looks like. But I tell you what, Bunnies is starting to lose time to Cthulhu. So with 18 laps left to go in this race, Bunnies is starting to lose time to Cthulhu. We'll have to wait and see how strategy plays out on the last stint. Both drivers should have a set of hards left, but you do wonder maybe if staying on the mediums will be quicker. It depends on the tire wear, surely. I would imagine the hards will be the quicker option, but it's hard to say. So Cthulhu here in 4th. He'll be looking to try and take a podium this weekend. He was pretty close last weekend, I think getting 4th in Brazil at Interlagos. But today, he's looking on track for 4th at Barcelona, Catalunya, Spain, whatever you want to call it, Circuit de Catalunya, I think. Not sure how you pronounce that in a Spanish way, so I sort of said that in a bit of a French way. We did see a yellow flag pop up for a moment, and I'll tell you what, might have been Alexis. Let's go back and see what's happened to the Red Bull driver. Into turn 1, takes a nice chunk of curb. Oh, and he just spins on the curb of turn 2, the inside curb of turn 2. So that is a corner that is very nasty. The high curves, you can attack them a little bit, but you have to be really careful and aware of the state of your tires. Apparently, that was not the situation for Alexis on this lap, but they're a little bit inconsistent. Any given lap, you might be able to take them, you might take that curb, you might not, as that is Cthulhu making it through on, I believe, that'll be Rob on drums. So yeah, Rob on drums, and that shows just how fast this top group is, because Bunnies has lapped everyone outside of the top 10. And he's on his way to lapping Slenderfella, but he's certainly not there yet. Let's look further down the grid. Let's look at Jam. Not too many people too close together. We've got here Harmond and Slenderfella, and then the group ahead, Gasman is right on the back of Bailey. So Bailey on those softs and Gasman on the hards. We'll see how this plays out. I wonder if Bailey might have just overtaken Gasman and is pulling away now. It looks like Gasman had a better last lap than Bailey, so I wonder maybe those softs are really starting to die for Bailey. It's hard to say, having only just started looking at them. Oh, that is a Williams who's off. Let's go back and look at that. That is the Punisher. So a mistake there for the Canadian, number 24 in the Williams. An unfortunate moment. Excuse me, an unfortunate moment for him. But going back up, yeah, Bailey, he looks like he's really having to defend from Gasman here. Gasman's putting a lot of pressure on him, and you can also see, I'll point out again, just like I did last week, there are lights above the driver's heads on these cars, and you'll notice that Gasman has a green light and Bailey has a red light. That's not, it's not like everybody gets a different color light. Bunnies doesn't have a blue light. Cthulhu doesn't have a purple light. There's nothing crazy like that. It actually signifies how much overtake is left. So for a driver to have a green light, that means they have more than 25% of their overtake left. So the overtake, an extra boost of power, generally used down the straight. A green light means more than 25% left. A red light, like Bailey has, means less than 25% left. And let's just flip through the grid quickly to see if I can find the third example. Not quite actually. Oh, Bailey spun! Bailey spun! What's happened here? So Bailey's ahead of Gasman. Gasman, is he gonna try and make a move here? No. Bailey just runs wide. Oh, and a little bit of contact there. Not much Gasman could do there. But he does wait up. Ever the sportsman, Gasman is letting Bailey take back that position. It is SNL rules. If you make contact, if you spin someone round, you do wait for them so that they can reclaim that position. So ever the sportsman, Gasman is letting Bailey take that position back. That will have really hurt Gasman to do. It always sucks being the driver who hits the other one and saying, oh man, I gotta wait for this guy now. I have to let him through, reclaim that position. You're losing yourself time, but at the end of the day, that is a worthy cause, being a sportsman-like driver. And tell you what, Gasman, he's also a quick driver. He makes that overtake cleanly this time, down the inside of turn 1. Gasman is up into 7th position ahead of Bailey. The Ferrari overtakes the McLaren. There's a new personal best lap for Cthulhu here at 22.0 compared to a 22.9 for Bunnies. That is the Renault driver gaining a lot on the Red Bull driver. You can see the Red Bull driver actually bunnies right on the back of Slenderfella now, and I tell you what, this is big for strategy. Intulu into the pits already, so, yep, Intulu into the pits, the first person to take their second pit stop, and presumably their last pit stop. It's about 14 laps to the end from here, and that's definitely an achievable distance. Not sure how long ago Rob said this in the chat, but Rob saying hello all. Hello, welcome to the stream, Rob. I admittedly, for the second week running, forgot to pull up the stream on my phone so I could monitor the comments. My apologies for that. Luckily not the end of the world, not, you know, a spam of comments there. Still happy to see you in the chat, Rob. Anybody else who wants to say anything, whether that be a hello, compliments to a driver, whatever it may be, always welcome to say something, as that is chaotic, as that is Bunny's actually lapping Intulu, as Intulu comes out of the pits. He's only ahead there on strategy in terms of the having lapped him, but still that's interesting. The pit stops here are just so long, and Aloy into the pits now as well. Let's see, where's Alexis? Alexis coming around the last corner, so Alexis will be well ahead of Aloy when Aloy comes out of the pits. But, that being said, Aloy will then have to, Alexis will then have to pit himself. And the gap between that top two is really closing. Cthulhu is not far off the Bunnies. We'll see as they come across the line for the next sector. 38. That is about a 3 or 4 second gap between Bunnies and Cthulhu. So that is seriously decreasing very, very quickly. We'll see if Bunnies is going to pit soon. We'll take a look. Does he pit this lap even, maybe? No, he certainly doesn't. Bailey into the pits. Cthulhu doesn't pit. I wouldn't expect to see Cthulhu or Alexis in yet. I would say Bunnies is likely to go a lap or two more. Aloy out of the pits, ahead of Gasman. So Gasman, he's just dealt with one McLaren. He's probably ready to deal with another, but I can't imagine Aloy will be... I think Aloy will be very quick on this final stint. So I don't think Gasman will have an opportunity to catch and pass him. Jam running a steady 4th at the moment. That's a very respectable result, or looking like it's going to be a very respectable result for the Benetton driver. Is he going to pit here? He's low on fuel, but he's not low enough to constitute pitting. He's going to go another lap. Into the red goes Bunnies in terms of fuel. So his fuel gauge there, you can see in the bottom left, is flashing red. He's running out of fuel. He's been leading since lap 1, barring a couple laps where Speckmere led on strategy. But on pace, Bunnies has always been the leader or the net leader. But Cthulhu is closing that down. Cthulhu wants that to change. Bunnies has a little bit over a third of his overtake left, it seems, while Cthulhu is down in the red. And I wonder if I'll have an opportunity to showcase what I was hoping to showcase earlier as we look at Harmond. Yes, excellent. So Harmond, you can see in the bottom right, he's used up all of his overtake, and instead of having a green or red light above his helmet, he has no light. So when you have more than 25% of your overtake left, like Digital does, for example, you have that green light over the airbox, or the air intake, over the driver's head, if you will. Bailey has a red light because he is less than 25%, and Harmont has no light because he has no overtake left. So that is how you tell the overtake stuff. And meanwhile, 11 laps left to go at the end of this lap. Is that correct? I think it is. And Bunnies looks like he's going to be pitting at the end of this lap based on his fuel, so we'll watch to see how he does. Cthulhu, we'll see what he does strategy-wise. He has slightly better tires than Cthulhu, which is actually quite surprising given he pitted earlier. So I wonder if he's been saving tires throughout the race. It does look like Bunnies is maybe saving a little bit of fuel. Thought I saw a couple lifts there. But he's into the pits, so his fuel's fine. And he's into the pits now, so hitting 0% as he goes in, and now it's maximum push for Cthulhu, I'm sure. Cthulhu needs to maximize his overcut on Bunnies. He's still in with a shot at this win. So is Bunnies. Those two are definitely our contenders for the win. Second time in a row that Cthulhu has been in the fight for a win. I would argue that Cthulhu, I'd say, provided nothing exceptional suddenly happens, I think Cthulhu will probably exit this round as championship leader. He got second last race. Second or first this race will lead to him presumably being in the in the championship lead, given Matt has not been able to appear today. Aloe through turn 10. That is a Renault behind him, but it's not one on the same lap. I believe it would be where is it? Yes, Harmond. So Harmond, just go here. Yeah, you could see Aloe out front. I think it was Aloe, was it? Yeah, it was. My apologies for struggling to remember who it was right there. My brain feels a little bit fried at the moment. Lots of good racing though, so we'll not be giving up. This is very, very entertaining racing. Lots of strategy interest here, as Bunnies is out of the pits, and I'd imagine he'll be pushing pretty hard. He's kept the same mediums on, so he's only stopped for fuel. That will help him. He'll have had a shorter pit stop, but I tell you what, Cthulhu will have an even shorter pit stop despite that, because he'll have to fuel less. And we have a very slow refueling rate for this Formula X this season. It's 3 liters per second, so it's going to be, the pit stops are very long, so being able to save an extra lap of fuel is monumental here. Lap 33 or 32, depending on who we're looking at. Gasman through turn 9. Jam, ooh, is that Jam's making a move on Ntulu? Let's go back there. That looked like it might have been pretty good. Jam through turn 4, he's going to go round the outside. No, he dummies it to the inside. Brakes a little bit late. Ntulu goes for the switchback, but can't pull it off. That was an excellent move from Jam. Dummying it to the inside, just completely catching Ntulu off guard. I know I certainly would not have been able to defend from a move like that. That was impressive. Definitely over the past couple of races, including this one, we have seen some exceptional overtakes. Cthulhu on Matt last round, for example, at turn 6 and 7 at Interlagos, and that between Jam and Ntulu, that was an exceptional move. That's Cthulhu getting a little bit of a slipstream from his teammate. Not sure if that's his teammate's intention or if Cthulhu was just being optimistic there. Either way, good thinking from Cthulhu, taking every advantage he can get, even from lapped cars. We'll see, I would imagine Cthulhu and Alexis will pit on the same lap again. So Alexis we can expect to see staying out. He does. The two Spaniards here, good friends, but they're rivals for the time being. So, as much as I'm sure they'll be happy to see each other doing well, they will be very competitive, I would imagine. So Cthulhu. It's Cthulhu versus Bunnies for the win. Bunnies going down the pit straight now. Cthulhu going through turn 9. Cthulhu will, I would surely think he'll pit this lap. He cannot have the fuel to keep going. I'll tell you what, he's only going to have to refuel for 8 laps, compared to what Bunnies will have had to have refueled for. That's really going to be very little. It'll be interesting to see who comes out in front. Could the undercut pay off? Could the overcut be how it's done? As a Lois, that's a new fastest lap of the race, a 1:21.678. That is Cthulhu into the pits. Let's take a look at Aloe. Yep, it was just on that last lap that he did do that, so I did catch the change. It wasn't just that I had noticed that it was suddenly different. I did actually catch it changing. Gasman also into the pits at about the same time as Cthulhu. Was that somebody getting out of the way of Aloe, I think? Who might that have been? I am uncertain. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm going insane. That's always possible. As Alexis, also into the pits, Cthulhu is refueling, so let's take a look at Bunnies. Where's Bunnies? We'll watch the fuel gauge on the top left for Cthulhu, see if Bunny stops refueling. He stopped refueling. He's going out of the pits now. Who's gonna come out in front? He's out into the pit. He's out onto the track. I can't see Bunnies. Where's Bunnies? There's Bunnies. You can see Cthulhu there. He's the only car in frame other than Bunnies. And Cthulhu, the overcut has worked. The Renault driver takes the lead of the race. So Bunnies finally losing his lead. He's had it all race long, but Cthulhu had better pace on the second stint, and it's paid off. Cthulhu is in front now, but he'll have to warm up his tires. And he's on hards. Those are hards compared to Bunnies mediums. Bunnies mediums are very worn out, mind you, so we'll see if Bunnies has the tire advantage, and if so, how long does that last for? Bunnies using a bit of overtake. He puts himself into the red on overtake. We'll see, can he do anything to get ahead of Cthulhu? We're on lap 35 here, through turn 9. Both drivers running a little bit wide, admittedly. And Aloe, I tell you what, Aloe is onto the podium. So Aloe, he's had some struggles in Formula X overall, but last season, especially towards the end, he was very good, getting pole at Road Atlanta, which was round 9 of the previous season of Formula X, and then I believe finishing 4th, missing out on a podium. He's looking good for a podium today. Alexis a little ways back and on the hard, so I can't imagine he'll be getting him in the end. As Cthulhu moving around on the straight to try and avoid Bunnies getting a good slipstream. Bunnies is sitting right in that slipstream. It's not a big gap between these two. We'll see what the Red Bull driver can do to catch up to the Renault. And I just want to take a quick second to thank everyone who's watching. We've been consistently around about 10 watching throughout this stream, and I just really want to give a big thank you to everybody who's been watching. I really appreciate it. But back to the racing, because this is a big moment. Bunnies is trying to chase down Cthulhu. Let's see how these two drivers are managing these corners. The lefts wear a lot more than the rights, so around any left-hand corner, I'd say expect Bunnies to be able to push really hard, because those rights are not, the front right is not particularly warm. He can definitely push on it, compared to his front left, which will really suffer through corners like that, through turn 9. He dips a wheel into the gravel. He's getting a lot of pickup on that front left, taking a little bit of a different line through turn 10 compared to Cthulhu. Cthulhu taking a little bit of an earlier turn and trying to make a bit more of a V shape, while Bunnies trying to sort of open up the entrance a little bit more. Both of these drivers surely able to take the last corner flat. Bunnies can't take the last corner flat anymore. And I'll tell you what, that's pretty big, because we've seen a lot of drivers, especially the ones out in front, taking the last corner flat out as of recent. So Bunnies, he's right on the back of Cthulhu, but he's not quite within striking distance. He's there, but he's not quite there. You know what I mean? We'll see how this plays out, though. Bunny's tires are going to die soon, I would imagine. I mean, look at that front left. There's barely any white left. We'll see what he can do, though. He's sticking to a relatively inside line through turn 4. Let's look further back. Any battles going on further back? That's Gasman right on the back of Speckmare. Let's see, up to turn 9. Gasman, is he going to go round the outside of Speckmare into turn 9? What a move! Oh, he runs wide. Can he keep it going, though? He can. He's all right. He keeps it good. And Gazman on the sauce, so he's got a bit of a tire advantage to Speckmere, but nonetheless, around the outside of turn 9 is no easy move regardless of the tire situation. So props to him for that overtake. And it does seem like other than those two, Bunnies and Cthulhu are the closest two on track. Bunnies right on the back of Cthulhu. I do wonder, down the main straight on this lap, ooh, he's lifting even through the second last corner. That dirty air must be killing him with those tires. Bunnies uses a bit of overtake. He was so close to Cthulhu through turn 12, but even just down the straight now, he's out of range to make the overtake. That is one of the two Lotus is getting out of the way. It's Jim Joker, so good on him for doing that. That is very good from these drivers, seeing them obeying blue flag rules very nicely indeed. And Gazman said he was quite close to Speckmere, but can barely see him from Speckmere's point of view now. There's Gazman just up the road, and who's coming up behind Speckmere? It is actually, that is Cthulhu it seems. So Cthulhu and Bunnies just cannot keep up with him at the moment. Bunnies only a tenth slower on that last lap, mind you, but it's not, he's lost a lot on this lap, I would say, and he's really struggling through turn 9. You can hear the tires screaming for help, just telling him to stop turning in. But that's where the track goes. He has no choice but to keep going. So Bunnies is gonna have to go through 11 and 12 now. An understeery corner, this corner at 12, a long right-hander, and having to make use of those front lefts, it's just going to be a pain. So he's not really able to push through these few corners here. Cthulhu sets a 23.4, it's a 24.4 for Bunnies, so Bunnies losing a second on that lap. I think Cthulhu's got the tire advantage. I mean, I think that's predictable looking at Bunny's front left. So I think Cthulhu taking the advantage here, and all is looking golden for Cthulhu to take victory. He can still make mistakes though, of course, so Bunnies, he has to stay there as best he can. He can't just let Cthulhu pull away. Bunnies is definitely safe from a lowie though. He's over a sector ahead of him, it seems. So Bunnies needing to try and stick with Cthulhu as best he can. Mistakes aren't impossible from Cthulhu. And I've just noticed, it's not a big deal, but I've just noticed Cthulhu does seem to be running blue wheel rims compared to Armand's black wheel rims. So that's an interesting thing about the Renault there. I'm not sure that's allowed, but I don't think that's a big deal. I think they'll just get a little bit of a warning from the league organizers. As Bunnies, for the second time this race, we see him going past Speckmere. This time he's lapping him though, so Speckmere not that close to Bunnies this time. Last time he was on strategy, this time he's just a lap ahead. Bunny's really struggling at this time. He's trying to keep up, but he just can't from the looks of it. Another 7/10 loss to Cthulhu on that lap. As that was some dust being thrown up from Alexis. He's just behind this lapped Lotus, so we'll see, is that Jim Joker? No, it is Rotlon Drums, so Rotlon Drums here. He's on the softs compared to Digital Blast from his mediums, fresh softs compared to decently worn mediums. I'd imagine Rob on Drums will be hoping to push to catch up to Digital. We'll see what he can do in that sense. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy pickings for him though. He's quite far back. We'll see if he can do anything. Meanwhile, we'll see, is there anybody who's particularly close on track? Bunny's, ooh, looks like Bunny's struggling with some oversteer there, so Bunny's really falling away from Cthulhu. Yeah, nobody particular, oh, actually, I tell you what, Gazman, right on the back of Cthulhu. Let's see what the Ferrari driver can do. Speckmere much further back. Gazman through the last corner, he looks like he had a better line. He's in the slipstream, he's using overtake, he's going to switch from one slipstream to another. Threads the needle. He's through on the last car, and he's going to be through on Cthulhu in a moment as well. He takes the move. He makes the move into turn 1. He is into 6th position. Cthulhu, it started so well, it's ended so poorly. The Brabham driver just dropping back. Gazman up to 6th though, and I tell you what, as much as I say it's ending so poorly, 7th isn't a bad result, and Tulu doing a solid job to keep it up in the top 7. So that's not. I say it's going poorly. It's not. It's not going terribly. It's presumably could be going better, but it's definitely not going that badly. But yeah, Slenderfella right on the back of Speckmare. Let's see what he can do. He looks down the inside, but nothing doing there into turn 5. Big snap of oversteer for Speckmare. We'll see if Slenderfella can make a move. Not sure why I said Intulu there, but that's alright. And let's just take one quick sec to listen to the engines. As Slenderfella nearly going round the outside of Speckmare there. Had to unmute and sort of pause, get rid of that brake for a moment because he nearly made the move on Speckmare. Speckmare is on more worn tires, and he's also in mediums as opposed to softs, so Slenderfella, it's possible he'll have an opportunity here, but Speckmare we know to be very quick, and it's the final lap of the race now, so tell you what, it is definitely important to watch some of the front guys. Certainly I'd say I would like to keep an eye on Cthulhu. Don't want to miss him crossing the line. And I tell you what, I mentioned Rob was hunting down Digital. He's actually gaining faster than I expected. And I also forgot to mention this, Gasman, a new fastest lap of the race, a 121.2. That is an immense lap time. That is incredible from the Ferrari driver. I've mentioned over and over again that he's shown some brilliant pace over last season when he showed up as a reserve, and as well as Brazil and this race as well, but this is just a prime example of it. A 121.2, I don't think any of the other drivers could match that. That would be very, very difficult to manage. As Slenderfella, right on the back of Speckmare, just gonna keep an eye up on Cthulhu, because he's coming through the last corner now. It's a Spaniard in Spain, in Renault. Where have I seen this before? It's Cthulhu who comes across the line to win the Spanish Grand Prix of SNL. He wins in Spain, Barcelona. Bunnies comes home second. That's a good result for him. He'll be very happy with that. Lots of close people here. We'll see, when is Aloe going to come across the line? Trying to figure out who's next. Let's see, Rob on drums here actually is quite close to Digital. The rate he's gaining at was Digital runs, they both run off the track into the gravel. Aloe takes a podium up in third, and Rob on drums is through on Digital. Digital running through the gravel still. Digital not really able to get it back to the track. That is unfortunate for the Williams driver, and he disappears. So Digital gone, reduced to atoms, as Thanos says in the Marvel movies. Gone, reduced to atoms. Yeah. But Rob on drums getting that move right at the end. A little bit of a messy end there. But I tell you what, Aloe takes a podium, and that's pretty big. I don't think there will be anyone unhappy to see that. Aloe, great driver, and first podium in SNL, if I'm not mistaken. Certainly his first podium in Formula X. I'll pause this just before Armand goes across the line, or just as he goes across the line, how about? Yeah, there you go. Takes 8th position. Oh, 12th position. Yeah, I thought that didn't seem right. There we go. Takes 12th position. And, wow, what a race. Honestly, what a race. We have Cthulhu taking the race win. The Spaniard wins in Spain, and I'm sure he'll be very proud of that, as it's a return to the podium for Bunnies as well. So Bunnies hopefully will be happy with that as well himself. The Canadian, as his username is, as his nickname is there, the Canadian taking second, return to the podium. Very good season last season. Wasn't the start he wanted in Brazil. This is closer to what he'll be wanting. And Aloe, the McLaren driver, onto the podium. An excellent result for him in third, followed by Alexis in fourth. Fifth goes to Jam. So that top 5, I'd say all 5 of them have much reason to be very happy with the result. And I tell you what, Gasman should be pretty happy with himself too. Fastest lap of the race, 6th in the race. That is an excellent result. Honestly, a lot of drivers have performed very well here today. And Tulu down in 7th, maybe not quite the result he would have been hoping for based on the start of the race, but the Brabham driver, the only Brabham in this race, I'm sure he'll be glad just to be scoring some points for his team. Speckmare in 8th, 9th is Slenderfella, Bailey 10th, 11th goes to Rob on drums, 12th is Harmond. Jim Joker takes 13th, the Punisher goes 14th, and our non-finisher, couple meters away from the line, Digital Blasphemy seems to have given up. So it's too bad about him. But I tell you what, your most recent race winner in SNL is now this man. It's the Spaniard. It's Cthulhu. He wins in Spain, Barcelona. So an excellent result for him. I'm sure he'll be very happy with that. And this is, unfortunately, where I leave you all. So, as I said, we've averaged about maybe like 10 viewers throughout most of the race today. And really, really thankful for everyone who watched. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you all for watching. Thanks to so many of you for watching. And, yeah, have an excellent week. We'll see you next time out. The race next week will be at Daytona. I may commentate at this time. I may commentate a couple hours later. I'm uncertain on that, but I will be commentating on Monday again next week. I hope you enjoyed the race. This is a farewell from me. Goodbye.